Aloha no kako. Oahu Edward hale aloha yao. He keiki a Reynolds le aloha yao. Kumakua kane me kana wahine o Mauna Kea alaka yao. Kumakua hine. He keiki a Harry ahiona yao ne ku ututu wahine lawa o Paul Kamaholi I hapai. He keiki a Samuel Kaimi na awal ka eo. Lawa o Hilda na uhio kamalu bisho. The reason we are doing this press conference is because myself, Pualani Kanaka Ole Kanahele, Kalekua Ka'eo, and Skippy Iwane, Kili'i Skippy Iwane, have written a demand letter under Hawaii state law to Jade Boutte, Director of the Department of Transportation, the members of the Hawaiian Homes Commission, Claire Connor and Ryan Kanakaole of the Department of the Attorney General, as well as TMT International Observatory, to put them on notice that they have 60 days to comply with our demands for compliance with the unlawful taking of the road that we are standing on. Specifically, this letter is a 60-day notice of intent to sue for trust breaches in absence of corrective action related to land exchanges to compensate for illegally taken streets and roads. So the road that we are standing on right now is Hawaiian homelands. It was taken in 1968 by the University of Hawaii, and they took it by building this road on it. They did so without authorization of the Hawaiian Homes Commission, the landowner. I'm not making this up, this is not an opinion, this is fact. In 1983, the feds and the state examined the practices of the state of Hawaii to take lands from the Hawaiian Homelands Trust and not pay for it. And they determined those acts were illegal. In the 1990s, Governor Waihee established a task force to begin the process of identifying those stolen lands. Stolen, I say stolen because when you appropriate the property of another without authorization, without paying for it, that is theft. Even if it's done by the state of Hawaii, by state agencies supported by the Department of the Attorney General. It's still theft. So in 1994, they said, identify all of these lands, assess their value. The assessed value was $1 billion. They stole $1 billion worth of land from the Hawaiians. Wasn't it enough taking of the kingdom, of the taking of our country? No. Hawaiian Homes program was intended to be part of that redress. They raid the Hawaiian Homes Trust and then pass a law called Act 14 to settle for $600 million. So I'm not that good at math, but that's $400 million less than what they took. What a deal. In that law, Act 14 said that the state would pay the $600 million plus initiate land exchanges to pay back what was taken. You're standing on the road that was taken. The state has not initiated the $5 million they said they would pay for the 367 acres of land they took for streets and roads. They did not initiate a land exchange and has not, as of this very moment, initiated the land exchange that they're supposed to compensate for that taking. This lawsuit, this demand letter is in our capacity as beneficiaries of the Hawaiian Homes Trust. I'm a lessee, fourth generation lessee on Molokai, and Tipua, Kalekoa, and Skippy One, and we are all beneficiaries of the Hawaiian Homes Trust. And in the interest of full disclosure, I'm also an employee of the HHL. And the reason why I signed up is for that sacred purpose of working for our beneficiaries, whom we are not consulting, by the way, as to what they think we should do with regard to this road. So this initial action that we are, the law requires before you can sue the state on a matter like this, you have to send what's called a demand letter. So this is that demand letter. And they have 60 days to do what you demand that they do. If they refuse to or fail to, then you can sue. So the point of this press conference is to announce that we are signing that demand letter today, and they have 60 days to comply. And if they don't, then we will sue. And we do that not because we're trying to make trouble or because we have nothing better to do. We do it as a sense of responsibility, of kuleana, of what Kuhio intended for this program to be. And if you read the purpose of the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, all of the programs of the Hawaiian Homes Department of Hawaiian Homelands is intended to perpetuate the values and practices of the Hawaiian people. Are we not perpetuating our values and practices by standing up for the Mauna? No. Then are we not doing exactly what Kuhio intended us to do on Hawaiian Homelands? There is no guilt in what we're doing here. There is no fear in what we are doing here. There is some confusion, but it's clear. So now can I ask Auntie Pua if she can explain to us her mana'o of why we're here.
Aloha kako. I just want to read this short section to you because I wrote it kind of overnight, as was the request, and so a lot of the things that I'm writing is in my head, but it's not as articulate as it is on paper. So the initial thing, I take my glasses off. We'll have to make this bigger. Mauna Kea, and this I'm writing because when we were young and the first telescope went up, my grandmother was living with us, and my grandmother and mother, when they first recognized that there was something up there on the mountain, they were really po'iva. And they felt very guilty about something being up here. And up here was not necessarily where they came all the time because it wasn't necessary for them to come, but it stood for something that was outstanding to them. And so they felt very guilty because they felt like they couldn't do anything about it. And so we carried that guilt with us. Because we carried the guilt with us, they sent all of us to school, to college. And so that in getting our degree, what we said would be recognized by the greater public. Okay, and so I put this little piece in here as a memory of that particular time. Mauna Kea, the thread of ancestral memory. Wait, I gotta make them bigger. Mauna Kea, the thread of The thread of ancestral memory reminds us that the mountain, like our parents, is the wellspring and provider of physical and spiritual nourishment. And so that's what I remembered about that time that I spent with them, and that guilt that they had. And it was something that was taught to them, and something that was taught to their parents, and again go back for many generations. Mauna Kea is here for a purpose. And we, in our aha, we go through the chant of Mauna Kea and the birth of Mauna Kea, the idea that it is born from Wakea and from Papahana Moku. Now that particular chant that they're doing, that we do for the aha, tells us several things. And you know, somebody said about something about what the scientists said and what we say as Hawaiians today in their presentation. But I was raised in a hula olapa kind of tradition. And so what we studied were chants, continuous chants from when we were little, when we grow up. And then our children studied chants, and then their children studied chants, and now their children's children are studying chants. So a lot of the people that you see here chanting are children that come from our family, from my family. And because they have to come up here and chant because they know what they're chanting about, I hope. Okay, but one of the chants that they do up here is about the birth of Mauna Kea. And the birth of Mauna Kea tells you that Mauna Kea is the child of Wakea and the child of Papahanaumoku. Now, in that idea of the child of Wakea and Papahanaumoku, it sounds like a mythology, and it is a mythology. And we understood things at a very intellectual level, and a mythological level, and then at a ka'au level. And that's how we spread our news and our stories and what was happening in our community. The chants are from an intellectual level, because chants are designed to maintain only certain information. And so they're passed on down from generation to generation. If the chant is really old, how long do I have to talk?
Auntie, you can talk as long as you want.
If the chant is really old, the information doesn't change. It's not like the mythology and the ka'au, where the information change every generation to fit that particular generation. Chants, it doesn't change. So when it's talking about Wakea being the father and Papahanaumoku being the mother, and Mauna Kea is the child, what that means to people who study chants is that Wakea, we know that Wakea is this great space above us. That's Wakea. Okay. Wakea may have been a human, he may have been named after the great space, but when they were doing the chant, it had to do with the great space. Okay. And so, the child was born from Papahanaumoku, our earth. And our earth is the ocean that we can see and are the islands that we live on. That's our earth. That's Papahanaumoku. Papahanaumoku is the earth, and everything that's born on the earth, and everything that's born on the earth are things that go through a generational kind of lineage. Okay. So, trees, people, dogs, cats, things that live in the ocean, and the birth of islands. Because our islands are born out of the ocean. And so the idea of Wakea, Mauna Kea being the child of Wakea, is that this child grew so large that it went out of the space of earth. Okay. It went out of the space of earth, it became the child of Wakea. It went and reached that particular place, that particular space. Now, the island was initially named Lono Nui Kea. And Lono Nui Kea is the space that is right above of the earth. It is the earth's atmosphere. Lono Nui Kea is all the winds that we feel, all the storms and the weather phenomena that we feel that, and all of the transpiration of the water that comes from the earth and goes up, it goes to Lono Nui Kea. Lono Nui Kea's space does not go higher than that mountain. So that mountain has outgrown the earth's atmosphere. And that's what they were talking about when they said that Mauna Kea belongs to Wakea. It is the child of Wakea. In its birth, it gave birth and it blossomed and budded out of the earth's atmosphere. And it therefore belongs to Wakea. And so it's not really a mythology. It's science. It's their science. You know, and they understood that this was the earth's atmosphere. They understood where the water transpired into that particular zone, it came back down again. They understood that. They understood the cycles of water. And the fact that this mountain is high enough to maintain all of those clouds that's coming from the ocean and dropping their water again. And eventually all of it transpires and goes up into the same space. And then it drops its water again. Doesn't that sound like science? Don't you learn that in the 4th grade? In your science class? Yeah. Our kupunas knew that. You know, they knew where their water came from. And they knew the cycles of water. They knew what all the ohia trees were doing in their transpiration cycles. They knew that. And so the sacredness of Mauna Kea is that it provides water for us. It stops the clouds from passing and then going on somewhere else and dropping the water in the ocean somewhere else. And a lot of the low islands, they don't get as much. Okay, the rain will drop someplace else. We get everything that comes out of that Pacific Ocean and bumps into our islands. We probably have more water than California. Anyway, that's according to PUA. Okay, so you can do whatever you want with it. So the idea that it's sacred is that it does belong to another space. And when we say sacred or kapu, it means a couple of things. One is that it's not fit for things that are born on Papahānaumoku. It's not fit. Okay? And it's not fit for us because it doesn't have the oxygen it needs for us to live there for a long time. Therefore, it's sacred for that particular space. It has other kuleana or other responsibilities. It does not have the responsibility of Lono Nui Akea. Okay, that's Lono Nui Akea's responsibility, is to do water all the time. But it is in a higher, and that's why it's sacred to us. Man does not belong there. Man belongs where they can breathe oxygen. And they breathe oxygen where they get a lot of rain. Because the oxygen the rain has oxygen in it because it comes from the ocean. And the ocean is Kanaloa. Okay. And so I'm giving you a whole Hawaiian lesson. Okay, do you want to cut me off?
Dare I?
Okay, so anyway, that's some of the reasons that it's sacred to us, because we don't belong up there. It belongs to another level of space. It doesn't belong to Earth. Man doesn't belong up there at all. And the other thing about them digging down into the earth with a napao, the other thing about them digging down into the earth, Mauna Kea has a lot of ko'i rocks that our kupunas went up and collected. And so they went it up and collected because that was the easiest place to get it. Ko'i rocks grow where most of the rocks will grow horizontally. Ko'i rocks will grow vertically. And if you go to the outer islands, like the islands that's eroding, Ka'ula, Mokumanamana, Nihoa, parts of Kauai, you will notice that in the cliffs that's eroding, there are slips of rock that go straight up. That's the ko'i. What the ko'i does is it holds your island together. And that's what it's doing on Mauna Kea. It's holding this part of the island together. Mauna Loa is not ready yet. It's going to be ready, I don't know, when you guys are gone already. Okay, so it holds this island together. If you go and start to dig down into it, it's going to break it apart even more. The erosion will begin before it naturally has the time to erode. And so that's another reason that I'm sitting on this road. We don't want to erode our island any faster. We don't want people up there. We like the water that's coming into Hawaii. We like the sacredness of the tops of our mountain off into another space. Allow it to do something else. And did you see when the big hurricanes came? Not only this year, but last year and the year before that. Did it come straight across our island like it's going across the United States? and wrecking all of that along their shoreline in Georgia and Florida and Louisiana, come here. And it doesn't do that because the islands are high enough so the cuffs of the wind when it first comes will be pushed off constantly. Okay. And it's being pushed off, it will either go north or it will go south. So mahalo to our Maunas for that. Okay.
Aloha nui kākou. Wau nei o Kaleikoa ka eo, e keiki papa no ka mokopuni o Maui. Malia no wau, hana ia. Ke noho nei mākou me ka uahine, me ka poi keiki, maka aina ho pula pula o Waiohuli, makula Maui. E nae, e no mākou ke noho nei ma ke aina o puhuluhulu. I'd like to thank Haliloha for taking the lead in moving us in this direction to expose really the mismanagement and more horrifying, the misdirection, I believe, of the leadership from the governor's office and the Hawaiian Homelands. The Hawaiian Homelands Office and commissioners have a fiduciary duty at the highest level to protect our so-called lands and assets for the beneficiaries, one, and two, to protect the assets themselves to be held in the best condition, not just for our generation, but for the generations to come. And I was one also who was arrested on, I believe, July 15th, and supposedly unarrested on that day also, on this road, a road that we always do and understand to be road as part of the so-called Hawaiian Homelands Trust. And as beneficiaries, we assert that we have particular rights to these lands, which include the right to protect our lands also up Mauka at the summit of Mauna Kea. But I challenge, in fact, all commissioners and the leadership, who again has a duty, the highest duty, to protect these trusts, to investigate all information, which I have confident will prove without a doubt that the State Department of Transportation does not have ownership or jurisdiction over the lands that we stand and sit upon right now. And therefore, their wishes to use this roadway to support a foreign corporation like the TMT, 30-meter telescope corporation, is not just illegal. It's really offensive in regards to supporting what the main mission of the Hawaiian Homelands Act is all about, which of course is to house and provide benefits to the beneficiaries, our Lahui Kanaka. And if all of you would take a look up in the uplands, you will see these are all Hawaiian homelands, thousands of acres in this area. And how many beneficiaries do you see living upon these lands? How are our beneficiaries benefiting from this road? And I would say clearly, I do not understand how the leadership within the Hawaiian Homelands Commission and agency would even consider supporting projects like the TNT Corporation in their hopes of constructing that large telescope 18 stories high at the summit of Mauna Kea without the conversation and consent of the beneficiaries ourselves. And to me, that's the number one issue that must be looked at. Secondly, why would agency heads like Mr. William Aila perform any time or duties on behalf of the TNT Corporation? As far as I am concerned, when you look at the act or the agency's responsibilities, there's nothing in there in regards for the Hawaiian Homelands Commission using any resources or time to support the wishes of this foreign corporation. So that must be addressed and called out. And I say that he has a job and a duty to protect us the beneficiaries, not the goals and interests of the TNT or the University of Hawaii or Governor Ige. Also, we should recognize what is going on right now. For weeks, Governor Ige's administration, working in conjunction, as we understand, again, we're not even clear, with the Department of Transportation and the Hawaiian Homelands Agency, are preventing, in a discriminatory policy, beneficiaries from accessing, using our own roads to access as protected, supposedly, and I use the word supposedly, under even the state of Hawaii Constitution, whether we're talking the rights of the Hawaiian or we're talking about rights of the Hawaii State Constitution, Article 12, Section 7, which guarantees our right, constitutionally protected, to access for culture and religious purposes up on the mountain. And it's only Hawaiians right now. Only Hawaiians, Native Hawaiians, who have this so-called constitutional right, which are denied that access. But, as I had said, an astronomer can come from Japan or Canada, a foreign national, can come and drive upon this side road and go to the gate, and they will be granted and allowed safe passage on Hawaiian homelands up Mauka. This is a disgrace. This is something that we as a people must stand up and fight against. This is the beginning of the erosion of those protections. And let me just ask and end by saying, we must at the same time always remember that when you look at Mauka, these are lands that belong to the beneficiaries. And these beneficiaries have a right, protected right, even from federal law back to the time of Kuhio, to settle, to use these lands. That's what's said on the paper. And if so, as they have clearly stated, talking about the rule of law, how dare they talk about the rule of law when we know the greatest breaker of the rules of law has been the state of Hawaii. With that, mahalo.
I have one more thing to say. Okay, the outpour that we're in right now is Hamakua. And Hamakua comes from that way, comes from Mauna Kea, includes Mauna Kea, goes all the way up to Mauna Loa. Within this outpour, within the Apana rather, is a smaller outpour, and the smaller outpour is Kaohe. And Kaohe comes from lower Hamakua, and it comes up to the top of, it includes the very top of Mauna Kea, and then it goes all the way to Mauna Loa as well as the Apana. Kaohe is a name for, it means bamboo. Okay. And the green bamboo, and bamboo is the kinolau of Kani, and Kani is associated with water. But is associated with healing waters. And so at times when we go and cut bamboo, we find that between the two nodes there is water in it. And that water becomes sacred water. And so they use it medicinally. The reason they named this particular aupua Kaohe, in the minds of the Hawaiian, it's acting the same way as the bamboo. And so what this aupua does, as far as they're concerned, is capture basins of water from here to Mauna Loa and from Hamakua, basins of water. Now these basins of water in Kaohe is being bombed by Pohakuloa. These basins of water can easily go to Hilo or back to Hamakua or to Kona. It's being bombed. It's being bombed despite the fact that they know that this is Kaohe. And can I help, they don't know anything about Hawaiian. And that's the big problem. They come over here, they use the land, they use the names, they have no idea what the names mean and what the land means to us. And so there is no introduction, to anybody that comes on the land. We're not allowed to introduce who we are, what our land means to us. And that's the pity part about it. And we live in the year 2000. And we still don't have that privilege. Somebody got to do something about that and give us the honor of allowing people who come to Hawaii, it doesn't matter if they come from America, come to Hawaii because it's a different land from their America, what this land is, who we are, and how we treat our land. Mahalo.
So, this is an old story. This is not the first time it's happened. It's the same old broken record. And it's called breach of trust. And the state has done it so many times, they're just masters of it. So this is the latest version. This is the newest incursion on our rights and also our responsibilities. So keep that in mind. This is the latest. It's going to happen again, and we've got to keep standing up when it happens. The next thing that we're going to do, Kalekwa, so again, this is a demand letter to the Department of Transportation, the Hawaiian Homes Commission, the Department of Attorney General, and the Hawaiian Homes Commission. And it's a demand to correct this problem of this illegal road. And so we have to send them a letter from the four of us. And so Clay's going to sign, and then I get to go last. And Tipua and Skippy already signed. And then with that, if there's questions, especially if you're from the media, ask away.
Kevin, you have any questions?
Yeah, actually, are there any specific steps that the state could take that would prevent a lawsuit? Specific payments or anything like that?
So his question was, are there any steps that the state can take to prevent the lawsuit? Yeah, so the letter, if you're going to send a demand letter, just FYI, tell them the answer. Tell them exactly what you want, what you're demanding. If you just send them a demand letter and you don't tell them what it is, they cannot help you. So the letter says, these new breaches compound the effect of the state's egregious, if not previously condemned pattern of, this is the state's pattern of behavior, of assuming jurisdiction and control of Hawaiian Homes Trust lands under roads and highways improperly built by the state even before land exchanges have been completed and formal title of those lands passed from DHHL. Yeah. Number 2, failing to initiate appropriate land exchanges. They didn't do it. Number 3, failing to follow federally mandated procedures to seek approval of the U.S. for all land exchanges. Kaleko said one of those key requirements is consultation with beneficiaries. And then 4, causing or permitting state law enforcement officers to arrest beneficiaries of the Hawaiian Homes Trust on the Mauna Kea access road with no rightful jurisdiction, control, or authority, given the failure to initiate appropriate land exchanges to compensate for the taking of this road. So what is it that the four of us are demanding? We hereby seek corrective actions by appropriate state officials by immediately ceasing its above cited activities, the 4 I just read, and taking all required actions contemplated by Act 14 to compensate the Hawaiian Homes Trust before asserting jurisdiction and control over any of the 346 acres illegally taken from the trust for roads and highways. They put the cart before the horse. They're asserting jurisdiction before they actually finish paying for it. The law doesn't work that way. Again, I didn't bring up rule of law. They did. So in addition to what was stated already, the Federal State Task Force in 1983 said that the state of Hawaii failed to retain and assert jurisdiction and control over roads and highways improperly built by the state over the Hawaiian Homelands Trust. There was a failing to demand, So the first part I read is what we're telling Department of Transportation and the Department of the Attorney General. This is now what we're telling the Hawaiian Homes Commission. With all due respect, because those are Hawaiians just like us. But they're not being given all the information. And once they do, they will do the right thing. So the letter says, in addition, these practices also implicate the Hawaiian Homes Commission and the Department of Hawaiian Homelands for breaches of the Hawaiian Homes Commission Trust, when its officials are contrary to past recommendations of the 1983 Federal State Task Force. 1. Failing to retain and assert jurisdiction and control over roads and highways improperly built from the state. So we're saying, Hawaiian Homes Commission, you failed to take back the road. When you passed this action in 1994-95, you said, we hereby give our permission to transfer this property, but if the state fails to comply, then we rescind our authorization and assert the right to pursue any legal remedy. Well then, seek that legal remedy. Number 2, the Commission has failed to demand the enforcement, including filing suit to enforce provisions of Act 14. In other words, to pay for the land. Number 3, resisting the assumption of and claim to jurisdiction and control over Hawaiian Homelands Trust lands, underlying roads and highways, improperly built by the state before it fully paid for it. So how can you be initiating an arrest when the land is still ours? And if you do, then that's on the Commission. Were we clear about that? That's on the Commission. And finally, failing to abide by the exclusive, so if you're a trust, a federal trust, you have certain federal duties. The most important one is the duty of exclusive loyalty. Exclusive loyalty means you can only act in the interest of beneficiaries. But how can the Commission act in the interest of beneficiaries when they haven't asked them what they think? How can they do? How do they know what we're thinking? We have to have that opportunity. And so that's what to answer your question, that's what we're demanding that they do before the 60 days is up, or we sue. Oh, our demand letter, also says, this letter should be construed as a 40-day notice of intent to sue TNT, pursuant to HRS 607-25 for its planned construction activities to erect a structure and conduct industrial operations in violation of HRS Chapter 205, the Associated Land Use Commission rules, land use classifications, and other provisions. Now, the mountain is classified under state law as conservation land. The activities of doing those telescopes is considered urban industrial use. You cannot do that until you get what's called a boundary use amendment. None of those telescopes have them. And with TNT coming last, the argument is you've not just created individual urban activities, you've created a community of urban activity in violation of the state land use code. Rule of law.
Rule of law.
Rule of law.
Do you have any other questions, Kelly?
Any other questions?
Just one quick one. Native Hawaiian Legal Corp going to represent you in this, or have you figured that out yet?
I think we can do this on. Yes, we have solicited the representation of the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation.
Thank you.
Any other media questions?
Media.
Okay, we have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, she said.
Okay.
Oh, you gotta sign in.
Yeah.
You gotta sign. We are taking. Take us over 2 minutes.
No wonder they don't ask for cultural assessment up there.
Yo. We will be posting it to our platforms as well, the letter.
Thank you. Okay.
I just want to thank my parents for sending me to law school.